Oh yeah, black sun in the hizzle, all for shizzle dizzle. We got an excellent show here today, and man, Zanzi's early. What up, Zanzi? What's good, man?
Hey, what's up?
Man, just this we have a situation down here in Mississippi. The water, man, it's ugly, and
That's flooding?
well, the water is well not only flooding, but it's there's been a declared a state of emergency because the water is just it's undrinkable.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, it's really bad, man. So,
What,
um,
is it a chemical spill? Is it algae? What is it?
I think it's just they needed funds to repair the old pipes, and when the pipes start eroding, it starts dripping off lead, bleeding lead into the system.
Oh, you still have lead pipes?
Yeah, and Mississippi still had lead pipes. That's right.
Oh, shit. Okay.
It's crazy, right? Right. They never. Yeah, them were some old pipes. Damn.
Yeah, Mississippi's an old place, I guess.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a very old place, but yeah, just lead pipes, man. That shit. I mean, I'm thinking they haven't changed nothing out since the damn. When did they start outlawing lead pipes? Hell, that's before I.
Last people who changed the pipe in Mississippi were speaking French.
Right. Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Absolutely, man. Yeah. Um. Yeah. Just Oh, and I want to join. Make sure after the show we go into PSN. So remind me. So after the show, we're gonna go straight there. You good for this evening? Okay, let's see. Hold on. Let's see what the Yanga's talking about. Hold on one second. Okay, Yanga's power went out. God damn.
Shit.
Mm-mm. So yeah, if yeah, if Angel doesn't show up, then we can just we could just do a open discussion. But yeah, man, the water's messed up in Mississippi, so it's just it's not looking good right now.
Yeah, maybe it's not a good time to start the Mississippi project if you have to deal with bad water. Let the people that are already there handle that, and then.
Right, right.
No.
Or well, there's a lot of conspiracies that places like Michigan and Mississippi taint the water so people can move out, so then corporations can come in and buy the land for dirt cheap.
That's the other thing I was about to say, or maybe actually go and buy the land while it's cheap because it's devalued, right? But you're
Right.
saying corporations are already doing that, so well,
Yeah. Yeah, they're already got targeted. Like I know, it's just weird and like okay, so Mississippi is the second state to be contaminated with bad water. We have Flint, Michigan, which is almost next to Canada, and their water supply was pretty bad. It's still pretty bad.
yeah. But is it really a conspiracy when the reason is lead pipes, which are known to be a problem for a couple of years now, and those have
Right.
been installed back in the days, right? So the inaction was an issue, right, during all those years. Who's responsible for the fact that there's still lead pipes being used there?
I would imagine the mayor of the city would be responsible for the projects. All the contracts go through usually the mayors. I know
Yeah.
here in Atlanta that the mayors like when the road well, even though like okay, so some of it's like federally funded, but the mayors are the ones who manage, or is it the governor? I don't know. I don't
Whoever is responsible for it either didn't know about it or felt that there weren't enough money for it, right? So,
well, I guess. Well, how do you request for more money? I mean, damn, that's like. I mean, you talking about cleaning water, like water, shit, like
Well,
pipes.
changing pipes, yeah.
Yeah,
So
man.
you'd guess that would be paid with. I mean, here in Canada, we've got like the aqueduct taxes, right? So
Right,
if you own property in a city, you have to pay taxes in relation to the water system. I would imagine those those taxes goes to changing pipes.
right, right,
Then again, I'm not a property owner, so I've never been in a position where I felt I could go and you know pester the mayor about where's my money going, because basically I'm not paying him any of that money, so
right,
I've
right,
got no right to go and be the old grumpy man that goes and pester the mayor.
right. Well, Angel, we got Angel on. Angel, what's good,
Hey,
man?
what's up? Oh,
Angel, I think he must have stepped away from the computer. Okay, because I heard him come on. But yeah, man. I mean, I guess it's a chain of command. I guess the federal government gives the funds to the governor, and then the governor disperses it to the different mayors of different cities. I don't know, man, but yeah, something. Man, they didn't allocate that money right or something. Because I'm imagining that Mississippi paid their taxes, state and federal, and I'm imagining that whatever disbursement the government does has to be equally done. I'm guessing. So
the water infrastructure is handled by this, at least again in Canada, by the city, right? So
right,
it's not
the
state
mayor.
fund. I mean, if ever state or federal funds would be allocated for that, it'd be like in the situation we've got now, an emergency, right?
Right,
Because in regular times, you'd expect that it's the municipal taxes that would pay for that, and but those budgets should be public, so it should be easy to investigate as what the fuck has been going on with the budget for the pipes during those,
right.
I don't know, last 50 years. you know so
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like yeah, I can imagine. So Angel, you there?
huh.
Angel. Okay, well he's okay, there we
Oh,
go. Okay,
there we
Angel.
go.
Hey.
Hey,
Hello.
what's going on, everybody? Hey, Zanzi. My first time being on here with Zanzi. Of course, shout out to Blackson.
Yeah, nice interacting with you for the first time, and just
Yeah. So, what we talking about here?
Oh, well, we're talking about the who's responsible for the water crisis in Mississippi. I mean, is it the mayor? Is it the governor? Federal government? Who? I mean, and who's allocating these funds? We're trying to figure this out as we go, Angel. Um, I know Yanga, his power went out, but he had some information, and I'm hoping MD comes on. I know he must have out there driving, but I'm just trying to figure out like now. Yanga told me I didn't get the chance to get the information that once upon a time the governor said that the water was okay to drink. So apparently there must have been some complaints before the situation where people were complaining about the water. I'm sure number one, it's got to taste bad, and then number two, you could just look at the water and see the discoloration. So, yeah, that,
well,
go
sorry
ahead,
to
go ahead.
interrupt, but I'm no expert, right? But from what I
Right,
understand, even if the water is not discolored, right?
right,
Uh, the lead pipes are never good for drinking water. It's dangerous. It leads to gradual but
right,
nonetheless the dangerous lead poisoning, right?
right,
So the fact that if what you I understand properly what you're saying, the fact that the concern is the color of the water,
right,
right? It wasn't concerning that people were gradually poisoned, but now that it's apparent and the water is not as it should be color wise, now we're acting right. So
right.
um, I think I think it was always a danger, right? It just became an apparent danger recently.
Now, my thing is, like we discussed earlier, and I want to ask Angel this question. Just like Flint, Michigan, is there a deliberate agenda Because I mean, it's like, how do you mess something up? Is well, okay, we got the situation in Mississippi with the pipes, okay, but like in Flint, Michigan, they were ordered to take the reservoir and switch it over to the contaminated water, and it's like, who ordered that? Like, who? You know, I don't know if you remember hearing about that, Angel, but I mean, yeah, like who ordered that?
So in
And
Flint, they
who
had
and how did the funds not go to the pipes in Mississippi? Like how?
Well,
So
I tell you from my understanding in this nation, we've been poisoned by lead in this nation for a long time because that was some of the first materials that was used for pipes was lead. So it's been a gradual replacing of these lead pipes to the newer pipes,
right.
and that's a very expensive. Some of these systems have been in for maybe 100 years.
As he was saying that.
Yeah, for 100 years.
Damn.
Some of our bridges in this country, the infrastructure of this nation is in real bad shape. Some of these bridges and things have been in place, 50 or longer years, and all of these. It's a lot of work in this nation that needs to be done. And from what I understand, the greatest part of the responsibility really falls upon those jurisdictions. Jackson, the city of Jackson, even though it's the capital, is responsible for itself basically, and then it gets
Okay.
help. Then it gets some help from the federal government, but all cities, towns, whatever, are responsible for themselves, and you can get a little aid from the federal government. Like, that's how I see it. And in Mississippi, this has been a problem. I mean, it's no shock for those. It should be no shock to those who live in Jackson because this has been a problem for a long time, a very long time. It was just a matter. And what happened was the floods just made it everything
Right. Made it surface.
just made it surface. That's what happened. This has been
Okay.
going on a long time. The flood is what brought everything up to surface.
So the floods just exposed everything.
Yeah, and then they were flooded once a few weeks ago, and then the Pearl River crested, flooded again. Back to back floods,
Right.
and the system couldn't handle it. It's just too much. This has been going on a long time. There are rural areas in Mississippi, and just like Brother Zanzi was saying, it's not so much the color of the water because for years and years, there's people in the rural areas, they drink red water. I was shocked
Oh
because
wow.
oh
I used
wow,
to go out in the rural areas and somebody said, you thirsty? You want a glass of water? And they gave me this red stuff. I said, I ain't want no Kool-Aid. I don't want no Kool-Aid. I
Oh
want
man.
regular water. This is regular water. Because I noticed the children that had a pool, the people that I was visiting had a pool outside and the water was red and whatever. I like, that's some dirty water. Because the pool was outside. So I just figured
Yeah.
blood. Because in Mississippi, there's a lot of red dirt out there too.
Yeah,
Red
clay,
clay
yeah.
stuff, whatever. So I figured it was just dirty water, whatever. No, that's their water. Because it's up to that municipality or whatever to pay for the filtration. And they put it up for a vote, and the people didn't want to pay to have the water filtered, so the water is good. It's just not filtered. I'm like, but see, this Zanzi, Blackson, this is America. That you shouldn't have to live that way. You shouldn't have to live that way.
Mm-mm.
I saw a meme, whatever you want to call it, on Facebook, and somebody was talking about how this government has given so far $8 billion to Ukraine, $1 billion to $3 billion to Israel, and $1 billion to somebody else. And they only offering the state of, not Jackson, the state of Mississippi $75 million for their in the new bill for their water problem.
Oh wow.
Not for Jackson by itself, for the whole state,
Right.
$75 million.
Right.
It would take $1 billion to fix
Over a billion.
Jackson's problem there.
Right.
So I might be ignorant here, but
Uh-huh.
that money that the United States, Germany, France, Canada, we've given to Ukraine, at the end of the day, since pretty much everything down there is going to be destroyed, that money is going to come back right to us, right? I mean, what are they going to buy with that money? They're going to buy weapons. They're going to buy goods. They're going to buy
Exactly.
buy back their debt. So I mean, it's
Okay.
Exactly.
we're just cycling money through them to some extent, right?
Yeah. Because they're not manufacturing nothing. Okay, you give them $8 billion, they're not manufacturing these weapons. They giving the money,
No.
just like the brother just said, giving the money right back to somebody, mostly in America, for these arms and whatever the hell that
So we're moving
they
public money into companies' hands,
but it
basically.
won't be that way. Well, actually, even if you invest in Mississippi, American companies are going to fix that problem in Mississippi. They're gonna, do that. The money's gonna
Right.
still back to, but it's just how. Uh, this is the sad thing is that they'll turn right around if war broke out. Will ask you for your sons and daughters to go fight, but
Absolutely.
you can't give my sons and daughters a drink of water.
Hmm.
That's the killer thing to me.
Right.
These people here, the whole thing is their priorities is all messed up, and it goes back to the sick political game, which needs to change.
Right.
Now, I wrote before the flooding started.
Right.
I wrote the mayor. I forgot, I can't pronounce the brother's name, but he's the son of the mayor prior. They've been doing this mayor thing for a while.
Okay.
I wrote,
Nepotism.
yeah, nepotism.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I wrote him email, sent it a few times, no response. I asked him about, and I just want your thought about Mississippi campaign, because something like the Mississippi campaign would do. I mean, it would do your state very, very well. It would help a whole lot of folks. No response. I've also sent emails to other big shot folks in Mississippi, and you don't get any response. So,
Right.
I'm like, well, y'all keep handling your problem the way that you're handling it. Because see, for me, my top priority is food, clothing, and shelter.
Right.
My top priority is and would be water. You can't do
Absolutely.
nothing without water.
Can't.
We cannot live without water. Water is something that we take for granted until we don't have it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. So put it on the back burner until you ain't got it. Right.
You remember Blackson just a few years ago? You remember there was a drought in the Atlanta area, whatever. They almost started to break out in a war over water rights. Remember that? Not too long ago.
That. Yeah. Yep.
And we're going to see more of that because whether it's global warming, whatever the hell you want to call it, or just the fact, look, people, it's a lot of people in the world. Restaurants and the activity, human activity, we are using water out of the natural way. I mean, we're using some hella water. And there's only one kind of water that we can use, and that's fresh water.
So
We can't use
question.
this other stuff. We can't use this, salt water and whatever. We can't use this other kind of stuff. And so you got farming. We got these businesses that's using water every day. Water. Where is it? Where are we going to be getting this stuff from?
Right.
Well,
We can get it up out of the ground. We get it up out of rivers or whatever. But sooner or later, it's going to go low. Right now in the West, they've been suffering a 20-year drought. And I saw some of the pictures of, I think it's the Colorado River. Man, it has dropped, low.
Right.
And then, just like we was talking about last week also, about these guys being paid to dump oil. They dumping it right on the ground.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So you dumping the water directly on the ground. It soaks into the soil. Where do you think that oil going to end up at?
And they're being paid to do that. Now, Angel, hold on. Zanzi had a question real quick.
Yeah.
Yes. Before we get off the topic of water,
Mhm.
um, I know that there was a big thing when I was younger, and I didn't really follow up on it about how water is handled in Canada versus the United States. I'm left with an inkling of an understanding that somehow waterways and well the content of water of your different water features in the United States can be much more privatized than they can be in Canada. So can you explain to me maybe to what extent can water be privatized in the United States?
Well, we got everybody. I mean, it's broke up in different categories, public and private, because you can have somebody that have a lake on their land. It's nothing but water, but don't you go mess with it. That's my water.
Right.
That's my
but
land.
but
That's my water.
but do they own this water and can they exploit it and sell it?
I guess it's mine. It's on my land. It's my water.
Right,
You
because in
remember those
Canada you
old?
can do that, right?
Yeah,
So
you
that's what
remember
I'm wondering if
uh the old westerns where they used to break out into these fights because water be running through these people's property, and whoever at the top said, "You ain't gonna get my water." They cut the water off at the top because this is my
Right.
land, and they dam it and won't let the water run down to the other people
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
start these fights. See, that's the stuff that you have to deal with in America. People, it's my land. It's my
that's
water.
yeah. If you're allowed to do that, I can understand how water is a much because here, not only in Canada, we've got pretty much the most fresh water in the world, but
Mm-hmm,
uh, also all water is public, right? You can own the edge right around the lake, the shore of a lake,
mm-hmm.
right? But the water in the lake, that's not yours, right? You cannot privatize that. You cannot exploit it,
What
right?
about what
Uh,
about on your land in Canada? If it's you got a lake or a pond or something on your land.
well, if it's a lake, then it most likely connects to a river somewhere, right? If it's a pond that doesn't connect to anything else, that's different, right? But
Okay.
as long as it's a waterway that connects to a river and eventually, most likely to the ocean, that's completely different. Um, but even your pond, right? I mean, you couldn't bottle. I mean, to what extent could you bottle the water in a pond and sell it, right? It's a bit different for underground aquifers and
Mm-hmm.
wells, but as far as lake, rivers, and uh, rivers and well, there's something in English. There's two terms in French. That's why I'm confused here. But the right, so that water cannot be privatized, right? You couldn't stop a river on your land saying that, well, that part of the river is on my land. I'm allowed to do everything I want with it, right? You can own up to the shore of it, and well, if there's a lake, right, and someone comes from a river and start boating in your lake, it's not your lake, right? But they can't moor to your shore, right? If all the
Mm-hmm.
shores is yours, that's the distinction. From what I understand, in the United States, though, as long as the water is on your land, all that portion of water is yours to do whatever you want with, right?
To my knowledge, that's how they operate here. A lot of fights and things have broke out over over
That's
Okay.
that.
truly the Wild West.
Well then,
Yeah.
let me ask a question because I mean I'm hearing the situation and so whose responsibility, Zanzi, is it in Canada to replace the pipes? It's the government responsibility, correct?
Yes, exactly. Yes, the only
Okay.
person who are allowed to exploit the waterways like that are the government. Are the yeah.
So what do you think, Zanzi? That how do we
Well, that has prevented American companies to come and steal our water, so that's good.
okay. Because I'm trying to figure out because now I was trying to tell Angel that it's better when you have private industries versus government industries. But the government is good at certain things, like I said, policing, the court system, to settle disputes. But it seemed like when you have incentives for people, they tend to give you better work quality, better work hours. Let me just give you like an example because I know Angel drives truck. If you have a private contractor who's a trucker as opposed to a city trucker works for the city, them city workers are ready to go. They clock in, they take as many breaks as possible, and they go. As opposed to a private contractor, they might work by the load, and they're going to get, the more work, the more loads you get, the more you get paid, so the better work quality. So this situation in Mississippi, I mean, how would we, I guess, damn, I mean, because apparently it's in the hands of the government, right, Angel? So, I
Well,
mean,
like I said, in America, each jurisdiction, the city of Jackson is really responsible for itself, but it does not get the revenue that it needs because the people just don't have it like that. When all the wealthier Caucasian people was there, things was better because they could tax, had a better tax, somebody that taxed there.
right.
But as you know, when the Negroes started moving in, white folks, nah, get the hell out of here. I don't care if it is the capital. They're getting the hell out of here. And so the revenue starts going down, which means less money. But not at the same time, I really don't know how these people are handling the funds, because you can still have a certain amount of funds and people blow what they have. So, we don't know exactly, because there's a lot of government waste from the federal government even
Right.
to the municipality, and there's a lot of theft.
That's
Look,
right.
they just busted two old ladies, 65 and 70. They stole over $300,000 from this small town because they were the secretaries. They handled the money.
Right.
They was doing this. Give a little bit of some to the city, give a little bit to us, give a little something. That's what they was doing.
Right.
And they was doing it for like 10 years. They ripped this little small town, ripped them off for 300 grand.
Jeez.
Two old ladies, 65
Right.
and 70.
Yeah.
There's a lot of government. Look, in St. Louis, now the brothers should know, when you're in politics, folks gonna keep an eye on you more so than white guy and
That's right. Or a little white old lady. Right.
But, like that's the reason why they got away with it. They wouldn't expect no secretaries to do nothing like two white old ladies. Like they wouldn't expect nothing like that from them. If it was two black ladies in there, they might.
Oh, they've been watching them.
Yeah, they gonna watch.
Yeah.
But it was three brothers, not brothers, but it was two black men, right here in the city of St. Louis. Got caught. What do they call it? It's not bribe. I guess it's sort of like bribery or whatever. But anyway, they took money for favors.
It's
three of them.
Kickbacks. Yeah.
Yeah, kickback. And it wasn't even nothing. It was for little dippity stuff. Like, what? If you're gonna do it, get caught doing something big. All three of them was taking little dibby dabby stuff. Even me and you would say, that ain't about the hell. I could go in my pocket and buy that myself. What I need to. But that's what they did and got all caught up. It makes black people look bad, really. That's what it does. It makes us look bad. But as black men, they should have known that they're gonna get scrutinized. There's gonna be a magnifying glass on you. And
I think that
they do it big.
What they got caught for, and to some extent also, it was a little bit easier to get caught for, in the sense that as far as corruption goes, you have to involve someone else. When you're thieving the way those two old ladies were doing it, right? I mean, the only liability, I guess, at that point was the fact that they had a partner. They weren't doing it alone, right? But yeah, flying under the radar is always less risky than interacting with other people. Corruptions, though, at least in Canada, corruption is investigated a lot more than crime, because in Quebec we have a very big problem with corruption in general. But the organized crime, I've explained that before.
It's hard to find honest people, because a person can be honest, but if you put them around money, and then they see, damn, this is easy, I could take a look, and it might start off with a little chunk change.
Right, just a little bit. Right, you might start with just
some taste. Just like I was watching CSI. It was a cop, and you know how they impound the vehicles and whatever, and then they lock them away. People don't even think about that stuff no more, whatever, unless it's related to an active case or something.
Right.
So the guy took one of these expensive cars, took it off, sold it, made some money, and it felt good, and he went back, but it started getting good to him. He started doing it over and over again. Then he had to start killing the people that could snitch on. It just made a big thing out of it. It just, it just blew up
Right, it just
into.
got worse. Damn.
It got worse. It's very difficult for some people to put them around money like that, and they can skim off the top, whatever. Money can corrupt folks.
Yeah, it's hard to explain how you go to, the story. It goes, I sold the car and then I killed someone. It's escalated quickly to some
Yeah,
extent. So how do someone goes to be a cop to maybe sell a car to make a little bit money on the side and then start killing people? It's
well, he said his excuse was, I don't make no money in my regular paycheck.
Right.
That's how I started. I need this. I found a way to make a little extra money, and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger.
yeah.
A lot of people become corrupt because of economics. You a cop out there, and you make this big bus, and all this money's there,
Oh yeah.
and
Oh yeah.
especially if it's just you and the money there, like nobody looking. I take a little bit off the top. How do they know? That's how it starts.
Yep.
Now, even me, I've done it. I have done it. I've done some stuff in my time. It was a situation where I took off the top. But see, the thing about it is you got to know when to stop, because eventually
Right.
you're gonna mess around and get caught up when you get greedy.
Or
But
you might buy into things that'll get you, I guess, further in depth, or you might buy something that requires more money and more
yeah,
money. Like if you go out and buy a Porsche,
mm-hmm,
now you got to get tires for those Porsche. Now you got to do it again. Now
yeah,
the Porsche needs a tune up. Now you got to do
yeah,
that again. Now the Porsche got transmission problems. Now you got to take that in. So, it snowballs, Angel. It
yeah,
snowballs.
yeah.
So
It's gonna get worse before it get better.
right, absolutely, absolutely. So and then screw this thing. I'm gonna go get a whole nother car. Now that's more money. So it's and then so you got things that snowball that could like you said, you skim off a little top, but then whatever you acquire and attain might require more money to maintain whatever it is that you have. Most high dollar stuff requires, like I said, an expensive car. Gonna
Yeah.
require, you can't go to Jiffy Lube. You can't take a Porsche to Jiffy Lube. I've seen it happen, and oh man, let me just, you talking about the disaster? They took the plug out, the whole car shut down. So yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. Oh, I've seen it. Yeah,
Now I'm not saying like the brothers, people in Mississippi is corrupt. I'm very sure there is some, you know, and I'm very sure there's some in the, in the governor house and those representatives and folks there. I'm pretty sure that that is there, but that's just a factor. But also another thing is that a lot of our leadership, they're not really in tune with the people. When you become a leader or you take those positions, you're there to serve. And this is something that should have been on the table a long time ago, way back, because they keep up with these things. Those things are maintained, just like these bridges. They know these bridges is old and need to be replaced. They knew that
mhm,
system, it's nothing new. They keep up. They have all these things have a maintenance record. Every bridge in this country, whatever jurisdiction that bridge is in, or whatever the water treatment plants, all that stuff is maintained. All that has records every day. And they do it. I had the privilege of being locked up. Backside had the
mhm.
privilege of being locked up. They keep a record of us
Right.
every day. So they already knew this. But the thing about it is, you're not here for the people. People have these other political things. Water should be top priority. You can't do
Absolutely.
nothing without water. Water is the
Absolutely.
foundation of our lives. Period.
And after going through two states, like I said, Michigan, now Mississippi,
Yeah.
that should raise a red flag across the nation. Like, yo, we got to stop neglecting our water.
You say that, but
Mm-hmm.
here in Canada, most most First Nations reservation in the north, they don't have clean water, and we talk very little about it. You know, people people don't get riled up by things as much as they should.
Right. Yeah, they should with water. Yeah, water should be a yeah. Because I remember you talk about First Nations. I remember they were building a pipeline across the sacred burial grounds and the honey grounds of
Mm.
the Native Americans, and they stood their ground for a little bit, but then they started sicking dogs on them. It looked like damn something out of the civil rights. I was like,
Oh
dang,
no,
what's
they're still
happening?
fighting. They're still
Yeah,
blockading right now. They just the media don't talk about it because when the media talk about it, more people join the cause, right?
yeah.
Mhm.
So if they got nothing else to talk about it, or if they need to sensationalize something and get get rating, I don't know, get views, whatever the fuck they do, right? Why ever the fuck they do, then they'll talk about that. But right now there's Ukraine, there's all kind of other shit going on, right? So they don't talk about that. But they're still fighting. Different nations
Right,
because different projects. It's not just a matter of burial grounds and hunting grounds, right? We don't
right,
hunt as much as we do, and we don't still bury the same way we used to, right? It's more a question of stewardship of the land and having those black snakes of pipelines running around
right.
and being able to corrupt the land at any time, like they always do, because they always spill at some point, right? And
Oh,
that's what
absolutely. Yeah,
pipeline does, right?
yeah. They burst.
They
Yeah,
wouldn't have cleanup crews going around and trying to fix leaks and find leaks if there weren't any of these. So it's yeah, the water is not great in some communities, and others are trying to prevent the water from becoming not great. And
Mm.
no, money is the first thing on the mind of the government, right? That
right.
GDP got to keep growing.
Well, how do we? I guess because Angel talked about how we being watched, but how do we
Yeah.
watch? How do we put the surveillance in the right proper places? Like these people not allocating the money and like I said, prioritizing, surveilling, making sure the money is not stolen so it can go and replace the pipes. I mean, this is just this is a
Well,
catastrophe.
I tell you, Black Son, in America, the top priorities for politicians in America is given by the lobbyists.
Yeah,
You have a certain group of people that have an agenda, and they send their people to lobby these politicians. See, the poor don't have a lobbyist. There's
right.
nobody that speaks for the poor. McDonald's probably have a lobbyist. You go in here,
Yeah,
we want to sell these burgers, and we want to put monkey meat in it. You know, make it so that the USDA can, if you put
yeah.
10% monkey meat in there, do something, whatever. They have lobbyists, and lobbyists don't give a damn about water. They don't
No,
care about no water. There's nobody. There's very few people who's going to lobby and care about clean water. They have other issues on how to make money, unless that water is making them some money. Unless you Six Flags over Mid America, maybe they got the water parks or whatever. Maybe you might
all
have
right.
concern with some water, but that these folks don't. I mean, it's not even a conversation. If it wasn't for the flooding in Mississippi and the recent floods, whatever, who goes around talk about how many live streams do you see on YouTube? Hey, let's talk about some water.
Right, right,
Nobody cared about talking about. Let's talk about some air. You need air too, and it's
right.
being polluted every day. We got trucks, buses, airplanes, all kinds of stuff. Putting all kinds of garbage in the air. These factories or whatever every day. Nobody talking about that. Uh, it's going to get to a point where you're not going to be able to live because
Right.
these are things that you need to. We
Yeah,
cannot
you need to
live.
wash. Yeah, you
Yeah,
can't live without water.
we cannot live without clean air. You cannot live without water. We cannot live. Period.
So I've got a question here. So
Yeah,
because we cannot live without water, we cannot live without clean air.
yeah.
Can we live without the internet?
Without what?
The internet.
Oh, we live without the internet for hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years.
Okay, well, you seem like a more rational person than most people on this planet, right? Because some people here would argue that they absolutely need this iPhone
Right, okay.
13, or they absolutely need those particular type of shoes, or they absolutely need that
Exactly.
SUV, right?
Yeah.
They don't
Right.
differentiate needs and wants, right?
Right.
And
Right.
they're willing to sacrifice actual needs to be able to get a supply constant of their wants fulfilled. And we're sacrificing people's life somewhere else in the world to get those wants fulfilled, right? So how do we fight such a global tendency to destruction of our fellow humans and our environment?
I tell you, the old farming ways used to be that you rotate the crop
Yeah.
or you let the land rest. What you do, you'll have a
La
crop.
jachère qu'on appelle,
Yeah,
we call it in French.
yeah, and you either plant another crop different from what you planted last year, or you just let the land rest. We in a situation where we need to be we need to let the land rest. We need to have time periods and go back to the old way of doing things for a certain period of time, then go back and reconnect to the internets and stuff like that. Because the way that we're doing it now, this continuation of poisoning, you can't. It's got to give. Something's got to give sooner or later. Now, in our
Right.
lifetime, we chances are in our lifetime we'll make it. We'll make it through it. But the future, these children or whatever, they're not. Look, some of these children, some of these people don't know what a real glass of milk tastes like. The only thing they know about go to the store and get that stuff in a jug. They never had milk, don't know how it tastes right out of the cow. They don't know nothing about that. So they don't. So that means you don't know what milk tastes like. See, I grew up on. I was a sharecropper. Uh, uh, I'm a descendant of sharecroppers. And I grew up on a sharecropping farm. You can go out there and get milk straight from the cow. The pigs was there, cows and the chickens, and everything was fresh. Everything was. They call it organic. That was normal for us. What's
I-
organic? That was
is
normal
a
for.
is a sharecropper farm like a cooperative,
Well,
or
like James Evans said, it was sharecropper. Uh, the landowner is the one that got the big share. We didn't get nothing except the hard work and the hard labor.
also it's not like a cooperative?
No,
Okay.
in America, black people have always been ripped off by these people here. Always have. So, uh, but the thing about it is, actually, that was one of the happiest times of my life because when I first got to know things, when I first started remembering things, we didn't have no electric bills. We just went out and they bought candles and kerosene lamps and stuff like that. So there was no electric bill. We had a well. We got our water from a well, and we didn't have no electricity either. So, but that was some of the happiest times I ever had in my life. It was no big deal, just living.
Imagine how many people right now in America would say, "Nah, we don't need electricity," right? The fact is, we don't. But how many people would be willing to say that?
The sad thing about it, you don't even have an alternative. The way they build houses and things now, if the electricity go out, you can't even fire up the fireplace. There's no
Right.
fireplaces there. You can't even fire up. They don't even build homes with fireplaces,
Yeah.
and so that you can put a wood stove or a coal stove or something like that in the house. You are, you're a victim straight to electricity. It's all about electricity, gas,
Right.
modern
Have
things.
you have you heard of the concept of earth ships, Angela?
No.
No, that's something you might want to research. That's a guy in the United States, an architect that started that. Those are completely self-sustaining houses,
Mm-hmm.
and self-sustaining as far as food goes, as far as energy goes, as far as heating goes, made out of what some would consider trash, but it's just reusing materials, right? Because I don't like those cardboard houses that you're talking about either, right?
Mhm.
That would be better be used as fuel for a fireplace in a real house than as houses, right? So, but the tendency is to build those little boxes. Indeed.
There's people in the United States, just like you were saying, Zanzi. There's people in the United States. If you got some money, they are living out in deserts and making these houses out of old car tires.
Yeah, well, that
Yeah.
those are hardships,
Oh,
but
they are, yeah.
you're saying that they need money. The way they explain it, you need hard work because you have to build it yourself. But
Yeah, you got to
as far
build
as money,
yourself, but it still take money to get out there. You got to get the. You still got to buy the land, all that kind of good stuff,
well, yeah, okay.
and
So I
accumulate
guess
your
you can.
tires and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
I guess you can do it on your own land, but what this guy, that's why maybe you want to research it,
Hmm.
the term earthship, because this guy, he's got land, right?
Hmm.
And as long as you're willing to build your earthship, and live in that community, understand what the point of the community is, you can come and build your earthship on his land. And from what I've understood, from what have been explained, if you want to buy a earthship already made, that's going to cost money.
Hmm.
If you're willing to go on the land and build your own to live in it and put the work, it costs your work and the raw materials. That's pretty it. That's pretty much it, right?
Hmm.
So that's something I've always been interested in doing. The only issue is it requires me going to the United States, and I don't know I'm willing to do that.
Well, one thing for sure, we need to this life that we're living right now, modern society or civilization, whatever the hell you want to call it, is very, very unnatural, and it's in conflict with this planet. And sooner or later, something has got to give. It's not going to continue to continue to do what it, and it's new. We haven't even been doing this for what, like we haven't even been living this kind of way for 200 years yet. I don't believe. It began in with the Industrial Revolution and whatever. It haven't. We haven't even lived in this, and it's not going to last that long because it's all based upon fossil fuels. So, and fossil fuels burning results in all these different pollutions that goes into the air and goes into the water. It's not going to. It's something's gotta give. And I was even telling people about overpopulation because the Bible said, well, Adam and Eve get together and you're supposed to multiply and be fruitful and whatever. That's when it was 2 people on the earth. We got 5 billion some people on the planet now. You don't need to be fruitful for a damn thing. It's plenty of people on the planet. You ain't going extinct no time soon. And we don't even think about something as simple as taking a dump or urine. When you take a dump or urine, where is that going?
In
It's
the
going
ground and
into,
in the
into the
water.
ground, going to the earth. It's part of the soiling and the fouling of the water.
I mean, if you think about it, right? I mean, as far as the earth go, it's rock, right? Everything
Mhm.
what we call the earth, soil, dirt, that's just dead stuff, right?
Yeah.
Be it your shit or be it your decomposed body, whatever you call soil, dirt, whatever you plant stuff in and it grows, that's dead stuff, right?
Hmm.
So and bits of rocks also, there's sand there, but mostly it's dead stuff. So when you take a shit, it just goes back to the layer of shit we live in.
Well, this is the problem. In a normal situation, you take a dump, and actually the earth can handle it. You got bugs and other creatures. You got other things that can mess with it, and and get rid of it. But when you take a dump and then put another one on top and just keep doing it and doing it, and there's no natural way of handling it.
Right.
It's unnatural. Then this stuff will accumulate, begin to not only poison the earth, but it also creates disease. And we know this in
That's right.
places that don't have proper sanitation.
Right. Yeah. Like they said in North Carolina, a high case of respiratory issues,
Mm-hmm.
asthma, and all that because they spray pig poop into the air because they got so many pig factories
Mm-hmm.
that overflow the reservoirs. So they spray
Mm-hmm.
it into the air, and people, yeah, breathing that stuff, man. So I can imagine North Carolina.
Man,
Damn.
I've driven trucks And I've been around some of these pig farms. Woo!
Yeah.
People blame the pigs, but cows is just as bad.
That's right.
And you can't blame the cow. You can't blame the pigs. They in these corrals or whatever. They can't go nowhere or whatever. The first thing the cows and the pigs do, they eat up all the grass, all the vegetation. Then they gotta take a dump. So they start dumping. So they playing around in the filth in these slaughter places, whatever, waiting to go to the slaughterhouse or whatever. We do things all messed up because it's all about making a buck.
Right.
It's all about making a
Right. And Zanzi mentioned earlier about no electricity, but that would kill a lot of the agriculture as far as y'all meat eaters, because you gotta if you don't eat that meat that same day, Zanzi, you gotta put it in the refrigerator. And with a refrigerator, you gotta have electricity.
I've
No,
always said that if the meat industry dies tomorrow, I'm willing to go and hunt the meat I eat. Right?
Yeah, but how many people are willing to go hunt their meat? You're gonna have a lot of
That's
people
their own
die.
problem. That's not
Right.
mine.
I got you right. And I'm all for people hunting their own meat, man. I'm all for that. But
that's
like
what
you
they
said,
used to do. Well, back
yeah.
not too long ago, before there was electricity, people was hunting and been hunting for thousand years, eating the hell out of meat for thousand years. People know how to prepare meat. They know how to smoke it. They know how to cure it. There's ways to preserve meat without refrigeration.
Right.
They've been doing it for thousand years.
Mhm.
Cheese. Yeah, cheese don't need refrigeration. They know how to dry stuff. Fish don't need refrigeration. They know how to dry stuff out. People been eating meat and bugs and whatever it is for thousand years.
Oh no, there's ways, but it's true what Blackson is saying that I don't see most people accepting to start eating only beef jerky from now on, right? So
they'll
Yeah,
learn.
you're talking
They'll
about a
learn.
small percentage there, Angel.
they learn if they're forced to in an emergency. That's the
Exactly, they'll
sad
learn.
part.
Yeah.
They won't take this avenue by themselves willingly for a greater cause. Most of the people, I think it's
But
or
even plants,
huh?
we used to eat domesticated plants.
Yeah.
We still got to go to the grocery store. We don't know nothing about about farming, and a lot of us we're
Right.
too Hasidic to get our hands dirty messing with in some soil. You got to eat. I want to be a big shot so and so. I want to in the technical industry. What? You got to eat, bro.
Yeah.
You go to these restaurants and spend all your money that you whatever. Where you think they're getting these fruits and vegetables? Somebody got a farm. Somebody got to do that.
That's right.
But I'm too good to have a farm. Whatever.
I'm too poor to have a farm. I've tried to grow stuff here. And I don't get much sun. I managed to grow some peas though.
What did you
It's
try to grow?
I tried to grow. I did manage to grow peas and
Oh, okay.
tomatoes, right? But that's about as much as the space I've got with the light I've got allowed me to do here, right? My tomatoes, I've got two tomatoes from each plant because if well I did some more were starting to grow
Yeah.
but they weren't getting any light and to manage to get like full size tomatoes I had to sacrifice some of those, right? So I mean, so you're saying it's people thinking they're too good, but farmland right now, from what I understand, in the United States, it's being bought up by
Yeah.
corporations
It
and
is.
by
Yeah.
rich
Yeah.
people.
It is.
Bill
It's
Gates.
sometimes it's just the fact that you don't have the means to be able to get your own food, right?
Now there are those who I'm trying to get this brother. I've been knowing him for years. You might know him too. Don't you remember Brother Daku? Brother Blackson, you probably remember him from back in the day.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah,
Daku.
he was into the pro black stuff too a lot.
Okay. Okay.
And he got burnt out on it just like me. He
Oh
like
yeah, man.
so he's doing the gardening thing, and he has videos, and not only him, but there's a lot of brothers and sisters. They do what they call like the urban gardening,
Yeah.
and they do theirs in buckets. And they grow. I mean, they farm in buckets. So
Yeah.
that's something. They show us how we can put buckets or something like even in an apartment. If you got a balcony or something.
Yeah, we have a Habashah. Habashah does that here in Atlanta.
Yeah.
They take like little abandoned houses or like little and they start these community gardens. And Some of them look pretty decent, but we just have some harsh winters here in Georgia. But it's the effort is there.
So but I this water thing, a lot of things that we take for granted, a lot of things that we don't even think about at all. We just take
Right.
for granted until we need it,
Yeah. Till it's too late.
until it's too late.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of corruption. There's a lot of waste in this country, a lot of it. There's projects that some of these senators and people that they was doing for their lobbyist people, these different projects or whatever. It's millions and millions of dollars projects just sitting there.
Right.
They started, spent millions of dollars, and they just sitting there. Probably won't never get finished. It's a lot. It's a lot of corruption in this country. A lot of people go into politics to see what they can get. It's not about serving the people.
Yeah.
It's about what can I get? I'm a senator. They want that title. I'm Senator Blackson,
Yep.
They like that title. Just like some people are married. Just so they can say they're married. The marriage is horrible. They're not happy in the marriage, but they want to say, well, let me go talk to my husband. Let me go talk to my wife. And the marriage is horrible. I know a couple of people like that. They just like to say, the title. I'm
title,
wife.
So you're talking about how people, right, use the democratic apparatus to be able to chase power for the sake of power and not for the greater good, right? Not because
Yeah.
they think they have an idea or they have a project or they have a plan that will bring light or bring hope or bring success to humanity, but just because they want power for to fulfill their interest, right? Um, so there's a whole debate about how should rhetorics be allowed in democracy, or should only dialectic be allowed in democracy, in the discourse of politicians, in the sense that should politicians aim to convince people of a point of view, or should they aim, whatever the argument, be it true or false, right? Or should they aim in their debate to flesh out the truth and then act upon that truth that they find through articulate debate and exchange of ideas, differing ideas, right? So what should be the democratic debate? But there's also people like Plato back in the days when democracy was being discussed in ancient Greece that thought that none of that. Democracy is a problem, right? Democracy is a weakness. Philosopher kings, right, should be in charge of society, in the sense that you shouldn't allow people like politicians who all they've learned in their life is to talk well, to be able to take falsehoods and
Right.
make valid arguments about it, to convince people to follow them in their
Mm-hmm.
ideas, be it to fulfill their own interest or maybe a benevolent desire to steer people through the truth through an easier argument. But the fact is that he thought, no, we should take the time to raise people, right? The same way that some people become butchers because they want to uh, prepare meat, right, and
Mm-hmm.
feed a community. The same way, some people should be trained in philosophy, right? Philosophy seen as the way to uh, live a good life, to understand what a good life is, and to see how this life can be lived, right? So you take people like sociologists, right? Where at that time, it was only philosophers, but now I would say we can take people that are trained in knowing what a good life is and knowing how to make this happen, and put them as rulers, right, as philosopher kings to some extent, and instead of allowing an arena in which people get to try and convince others to put them in power in the hope that it will be to advance humanity and not just fulfill their own interest, right? There's a debate on what should be allowed in democracy, but also a debate about should democracy even be the chosen way, right?
I concur with you, Zanzi, on that. And I can give a simple example of like when I was locked up, you had people that wanted that job just for a job. They didn't care. They don't care about people at all. Where I was locked up, but it's supposed to be for your rehab, supposed to be for your care. And there were people there. They was there for it because it was a job. They don't care about nobody except their own pocket. I just need to make some money because I need to pay my bills. And there were people that came through who had the right attitude for that job. But that facility is so corrupt,
Yeah.
they didn't really want those type of people. The real people that actually care for somebody. Because when you actually care for somebody and you see that they're being mistreated or something is wrong, you have to stand up and speak out. They don't want that type. Because their business really wasn't about rehab. They put on this facade like that's what it's about. It's not. It really wasn't about that. It's a joke.
So
And there were many people who quit because they thought I like to take care of people. I want to come here. I want to work here. Then they found out that's not what it was about. It's a lot of corruption, a lot of lies and deception. Especially when they met somebody like me. They said, "What the hell are you doing here?" Damn, yeah, caught up in this system, you know. But
so
yeah,
that
you're right. You need people. You need people in those positions that is more qualified to do the job, not just because I can talk well. I can sell you some fairy tale or utopia, like we always say here.
Yeah.
but should we hope that this happens? That those kind of people enter democracy and that those kind of people win in democracy? Or should we take steps to make sure that only those people can lead societies?
Well, I mean, this is what we want, but in the current climate of things, because some people can pretend to be what you want them to be until they get what they want.
That's a good point. How do you know what are the true
But
intentions
you
of a
really don't
person?
know unless you set up something where once they get there, you can kick them out of that position real quick.
Right.
But there's not too much that we can, because people fake the funk to get what they want. You get you,
That's
you
true.
you fake the funk. You don't like the woman at all. Whatever. You just want to get in a pan and you say the right words so that you can do it. Once you get what you want, then you get the hell out of Dodge City. Those type of things. People know what to
Right.
say to get what
Once you
they
get what you want, right? So how do you what can you use to judge the character of someone other than their words? And Albert Einstein, out of anyone that I've read, had a solution for that. Albert
want.
Einstein, right? He's a physicist, right? Most of the things he's wrote were science treatises, but he's wrote one book that was more of a philosophical or sociological tale. It's called How I See the World, and half of the book was a vulgarization of relativity, but the other half was a collection of different letters that he sent to different people, world leaders, colleagues during his life, and his ruminations on different subjects, like subject contemporary to that period. It was written in 1958, so the birth of Israel, the idea of Israel, right? I might disagree a bit with him on that idea that he had, but what he also had very strong opinions on the UN, right? The follow up to the League of Nations, right? That was coming up while he was at the end of his life, and he thought that the UN would act indeed as an international tribunal like it does right now, but he couldn't. He pinpoint the problem that the UN has right now. I'd say, amongst others, that they would have to be able to enforce those decisions that they take as a global tribunal, which they can't right now. And they, the way he saw this working was with a council, right? The UN should be ran by old people, right? But the point of it being ran by old people was that you can only judge the true intentions of someone, right? Decide if they have humanity at heart or their own interest by judging their life, their actions throughout
Mhm.
their life. So only at the end of their life can you entrust them with such power, because you've seen without this power what they tend towards, right? And why would they change that at the end of it? So that was an idea I thought was interesting, to not judge the people by what they're saying, but what they've done
Mhm.
for a long period of time.
I would assume that there's many measurements that we could apply to this, but but of course, nothing is perfect. Nothing is going to be perfect. You're always going to have people, just like we was talking about before. A lot of people start off sincere or whatever. I wouldn't be shocked. A lot of these leaders that we talk about or whatever, when they first began to talk and they bring their message or whatever, a lot of them probably was sincere. But money, booty, and praise, a lot of these things start a corruption process. And some folks just can't handle the heat. They fall victim to those things. There's not too
You
much that
mean,
we can do about it.
Why not?
But
Why not have the prisoners run the like you said, the two old ladies? Not have put some prisoners in there. You know what I'm saying? And have them. I don't know, man. I'm just trying to figure it out
well,
because,
I
like
tell
you
you, like,
said,
okay, the UN is a good idea. However, as you and we all know, the UN cannot function like we think or where it's supposed to be because the
well, the
head,
UN is fucked up. I don't trust the UN
yeah,
is
because
broken
the United
beyond.
States run, they all these
right?
nations is afraid of the United States. How are you going to set up something that's just and something that holds what is right when you are afraid of this the United States?
So there's
Right.
two there's two, and that's interesting that you say that, because the UN is run by 5 countries, right? The Security Council. But you're very right that the world as a whole is kind of under two rules, right? There's supposed to be the rule of international law, the rule of
Mm-hmm.
the UN, but the US can't abide by having to deal with the will of Russia, France, England, and China, right, through the Security Council. So they do take, like we've seen with Iraq and Afghanistan, right, unilateral decisions, right. So there's the rule, the international rule of the U.S., which they will agree with as long as they're making the rules, and there's also the rule of the UN. The UN is, like you said, a useless apparatus of uh, global cooperation, and the US is partly to blame for it,
Mm-hmm.
because they're like you say, the biggest force that won't submit to it, right? So
You know what really sickening to me, because I am an American citizen whether I like it or not. What was very sickening to me is when the president of Iran come here, who is a world leader, and he went to speak at the UN, and the delegation for the United States don't want to hear what he have to say. They get up and walk out on him.
Yeah.
uh,
That's very disrespectful and childish to me.
Yeah.
But see, this is what you're dealing with. What we're dealing with. We're dealing with a group of people who are they are adults physically, but they have childlike minds.
Right.
They have a tick for tack attitude. You hit me, and you hit me, I'm gonna hit you back. And, childish mindset. These are our world leaders, and this is the reason why. And children are material. Mature children don't think about no water. Children
No.
don't think about the necessities of life and how they don't think about that at all. They children. That's up to the parents. And so you dealing with world leaders that have a childlike mind. How the hell you gonna sit around as a world leader wherever you are in the world, and you're in a situation where your water is being poisoned? Actually, your water is actually leaving you. It's dwindling. There was a video that I was watching. Man, it's a wonderful video about these guys. Uh, I might try to re-upload that video, but that copyright strike stuff, whatever. I'll put it on my
Yeah.
Rumble.
Yeah.
But they was talking some things that we don't even think about. And they did bring up the water situation. You
Mhm.
cannot drink salt water. The water table is going lower and lower and
Yeah.
lower. We're dealing with non-renewable resources. We don't understand that. These pro-black African folks talk about Africa got all these resources. They don't say nothing about water. They
Right.
talk about uranium and oil and gold.
The water.
They don't say nothing about the water. What is gold and you can't drink nothing? There's gonna come a time you'll be happy to give all your gold for a little glass of water.
So let's talk about Saudi Arabia for a second,
Uh-huh.
right? It's a desert.
Right.
Do they lack water?
I
No.
think.
And the reason for that is desalination plants, right? They're taking the ocean and turning it into drinking stuff. So it's possible. The technology exists. Why
Yeah.
is it such an issue? Why can't we just solve that problem, right?
Well, from what I read, it's very expensive. Now, I heard that there's a brother who made some kind of machine and he can make water out of the air, let alone talk about,
Yeah.
the salt water. You seen that video?
Yeah. I seen that.
He
It's called reverse osmosis. Yeah.
yeah, gets water
Mhm.
out of the air. But a lot of these, look, I grew up on a lot of reading about these technologies way back in the 70s and early 80s. Do you know that these little spaceship cars or whatever, you remember the Jetsons? Remember that
Yeah.
car?
Hovercrafts. Yeah.
They had the prototype back in the 70s and 80s. I saw them doing it, had the prototype was up and running in the 70s and 80s. So you know what they would be right now. But the car companies and all these other
Yeah.
people, they hinder those projects. They stop them.
So there's something that I wanted to get to with that question, and
Mm-hmm.
and it's because of the title of this episode, right? It was we were discussing economy, and there's something that I've been in for a long time. That's called resource-based economy, right? Because when I was talking about those desalinator, right, and the technology needed to turn that water that we can drink that makes us sick into water that we can drink, that functions so well that we can have the most advanced city in the world in the middle of
Right.
a fucking desert, right? Uh, the resources needed to create those machines are the resources that Africa got, the uranium and metals and rare earths and all that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right? The reason that prevents Africa from using their own resources to make the machines that allow Saudi Arabia, right, to have those machines is because Saudi Arabia has oil, and the money from that oil allows to, well, buy stuff with the Chinese, because it's mostly Chinese people that extract the stuff in Africa, right? So the economy with the Chinese, mostly not the oil, allowed them to extract the stuff in Africa and build the machines that get the Saudi Arabians their water, right? And that's because our whole economy is based on money and stocks and blah 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 blah, blah, right? It's a liberal economy, as we call it. But there's this thing called the resource-based economy, when we just consider Earth and all its resources as a common good of humanity, and see how best it can be utilized with the current technology to better the whole of humanity, right? So use those resources that we've got to make sure that everybody has their needs fulfilled, instead of building goddamn techno cities with 170 kilometers long shining walls in the middle of the desert, right? So it's the solution seems simple, and it seems to me that we figured out thousands of years ago, but we just don't know how to implement it. And like you've said, right, the people willing to exploit others to get their own interest through any
Mm-hmm.
means seem to be what stopped this sentiment that we've had for all that time, right? How do we go over that? How do we overcome that sentiment?
Well, I think that the best thing that I've read is just, I mean, there has to be incentives in order for there be a drive to create a better society, create a better economy, to create a better this and that. Anytime you have incentives, then people will drive and go towards that because you're giving them an incentives. When you don't have the incentives there, that's when people get lazy and they cut corners and they start stealing, like you know said, skimming off the top. So we have to build up a system that pays incentives so that people will have a drive to bring about better quality for water, you know, more inventions, these type of things. So there has to be the incentive there, Zanzi.
Do you think that for the most part of our existence, right, those 250,000 years that we lived in a different way before the Industrial Revolution, do you think we had those issues about, well, maybe we should fight for water instead of iPods, right, or whatever was the equivalent of a iPod back then, that shiny rock or something, right? So yeah, I wonder if that's a human thing or if that's a modern thing.
Well, in early human existence, it was all about survival. You have to take care of your family. When you have a large city or whatever it is during that period of time, you need the land because you got to feed your population. So it was all about water. It was all about those type of resources. It's a need. You have to do that. But also at the same time, in the modern age, one of our severe problems, what I was telling us earlier, is overpopulation. It's too many people. Simple as that. Too many people, not enough resources. People think, oh, we sitting on this big hunk of dirt and it's so big. Yeah, but you can't utilize that big hunk of dirt like that.
So you
You
agree
can't,
with the Georgia Guidestones, 500 million max?
huh?
There was those stones that have been put up in the 80s in Georgia, right? I don't know if Blackson knows about them.
Yeah.
Those slabs of rocks written in different languages, supposed to act as some kind of new Ten Commandments, right? And one of the things that says on them is that the global population should be maintained at 500 million maximum, right? So that sounds like a number that's about right for you, or the New World Order for aim for a lower or higher number?
I don't know what an exact number would be, but what I do understand is that you have a certain amount of resources. It's just like when you go to a diner and you look at the menu and they say, well, this here feeds 3 to 4 people. This here feeds 5 to 10 people. Okay, so you 10 people and you're gonna buy the 3 to 4 menu. That it don't work that way.
Right.
You're not getting enough. So here we are. This planet can only handle a certain amount of life, and what makes things worse for us is our activity, our unnatural activity. We're not just drinking water. We're actually, we're washing cars and we're
Right.
doing all
Water.
kinds of stuff that animals and things don't do like that. That's not the natural way. This, what we call modern day civilization, is very, very unnatural. Even
So
drinking, even drinking soda pop is unnatural because there's no soda pop
Yeah.
tree. There's no
No.
soda pop well where you can go there. Oh, they're going to 7 Up tree or whatever.
I,
It's
I
just
like
unnatural.
your I like your restaurant analogy
Yeah.
because, right? Let's say that you've got $20 to go to the restaurant, right? And you've got two possibility, right? You can either with your $20 get this nice steak, right, for 2 people, like $10 each, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you can get 20 sacks of rice and feed 20 people, right? So I think that, right, like you said, there's this amount of resources that can go for this amount of people, right? But I think the threshold, this amount of people, depends on what comfort do we give to the people, right? Right. If everybody's willing to eat rice tonight, well, we can have 20 people. But if we want to eat steak, well, there's only two that can go, right?
Right.
Exactly.
So what should it be? Do we prioritize steaks for a few people, or do we go with rice because the goal is to have the most people we can,
Well,
or do we try to find something in the middle, like maybe uh, add some vegetables to that rice, right?
Some
I mean, how
potatoes.
about getting
Yeah.
some rice? You can get the rice and you can chop up the beef and put flavor the rice with it. So you
Yeah, and
still
you get
have
10 people instead of 20, but that's
exactly.
better than two, right?
Yeah, matter of fact, that's what they do in a lot of countries. Meat is not the number one in
Right.
America. In America, you got to have your protein, got to have your meat. But a lot of countries they
A lot
use
of them.
meat. They use meat for just basically for
Before cutting
flavor.
the meat, I would cut the iPods though, but nah, that's just me.
We have to live a different all over the world. We need a different way of lifestyle. This here, how we're living, it's not going to make it.
It's too wasteful. Yeah, it's too wasteful.
It is
it's
too
gonna
late.
it's gonna work for 500 million people. It's not gonna work for 8 billion, right?
No, no, and we steady making more babies. Where are you going to put the people? It's just you got too much here going on. It's going to break sooner or later. It's just a matter of time. Like I told you, we'll make it,
Yeah,
and our
but soon there's gonna be like Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos left, and everybody else is gonna be robot taking care of them. So everything's gonna be fine in the end, right?
now there are those who understand overpopulation,
Yeah.
and what they would like to do is find some kind of slick way or whatever, I guess, to try to kill off a whole bunch of folks. They just don't want to be their people. We don't want it to be Europeans. Those Africans ain't doing nothing. What do they do for the world economy? Let's try to get rid of some of them. That's their sick mindset. They understand the
So
the
if we don't
problem.
go with their way of depopulating, how do we depopulate them?
It seems like the only way is to go to war. That's the only way to keep
That's an
population
efficient
into
way for
war.
sure. Bombing people, and
That's
that takes
always
care of
been the
squads
way.
of people at the same time.
Right.
Well, I tell you, nuclear war would do it. Nuclear war.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that fucks
Matter
up
of
the
fact, it might
terrain
even
too.
change
But
our.
then you have the fallout. Yeah, going on nuclear fallout then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might that really mess up the soil, the air, and
You won't be able to farm on that land anymore.
yeah. So I think just conventional war,
It might
but
it might even mutate the human being. We won't even look like what we look like right now.
right, humans.
You wanted reptile people, you got reptile people.
Yeah, yep,
I mean, we laughing about it, but it could happen. It's a reality.
absolutely.
Yes,
It's a reality.
it's a
They
reality we
talk about nuclear
live
war
with
kill
since
everything, all
1945.
life on the planet. That's a lie. No, it won't. There's animals living with that plant, Chernobyl.
Chernobyl. Yeah.
Yeah, Chernobyl. They live.
Life
It's
is doing
animals living
great
there right
there.
now.
Humans wouldn't do great, most likely, but life in itself is doing great there.
Yeah, the rats are doing a good time, having a good time in Chernobyl, and deer, all kinds of
Yeah,
animals,
all
and the
yep,
trees. They having a good time and shit. They said, "Good, keep the people away. This is
yep.
ours." We can't. It's a place here in the St. Louis area that's contaminated by the nuclear waste. I forgot what it's called. It's a place, um, but yeah, it's we can't. Human beings can't handle that radiation like that. Those chemical poison. A lot of
Right.
animals, they can adapt. They some bad boys. They can adapt to some of that stuff because
I've got a fun fact about cancers and whales if you want.
yeah,
Yeah, okay. So it's understood, right, that smaller animals that live for shorter periods of time should have less cancer theoretically than bigger animals that have more cells and live for longer periods of time, right? Because they have more time for those cells to become corrupt and turn into cancers.
Right.
But it's not how it works. We almost never see whales or other big animals like that die of cancer,
yeah.
but mice die of cancer all the time, and that's what we use in research for cancer, right? Because it's easy to have them develop cancer. The what they found out is that whales are so big that their cancer develops cancer themselves before they become a threat to them, right? So their cancer never grows enough to become a threat to the organism, to the well. So it's interesting that you say that animals react differently that we do to radiation and how chemicals will corrupt the environment. Some of them, selection, right, will make it so that life will thrive in that environment.
Yeah.
We humans, we like to select stuff, right? Turn fucking wheat into corn, and turn fucking mustard plants into cabbage,
Yeah.
right? And turn
Exactly.
wolves into dogs, right? We don't like to be selected. We think some humans like to think that we're not being selected anymore. Natural selection doesn't apply to us. Some other believe that it still does, even though we're ignorant of it. But yeah, we don't like to be selected. So those kind of environments, what we're doing to our environment is counterproductive to our own existence. It's incredible.
Exactly.
Well, y'all, almost going on 2 hours, but y'all gonna be here tomorrow for Nature Mom. We're gonna doing a show.
Yeah, of
Uh,
course.
okay, that's gonna be 2 o'clock tomorrow. So I know that you're gonna be at work, Zanzi, but yeah, if you can, make sure.
Tomorrow I won't be available, family stuff, but I'm gonna be here on
Okay, that's
Sunday.
fine. Oh, well, Sunday, yeah. Well, Sunday we're gonna see you again Sunday at 6, Zanzi, and then tomorrow I'll see you, Angel, at 2. We'll have Nature Mom on, and we can I'll bring it to her attention and see what
What time is
get
it?
her take on it.
Where she's at? What time is that when where she's at when she comes on?
Okay,
Yeah.
so when we come on at 2 here,
Yeah.
or actually when I come on, well, when I throw the show on at 2, it's 10 o'clock where she's at.
Okay.
So or 10 or I think it's a 5 hour. I think she said this at 5 or 6 hour difference. So I know 6 o'clock is 3 o'clock in the morning for her. So
Hmm.
I gotta subtract that. But yeah, I think it's about 10 or 11 her time. So we just have to, yeah. So yeah, y'all be here early because, like I said, she only has a short window because of
Yeah.
the time frame. But I definitely want to get everybody on, and um, definitely because I know we like I said, we got a whole bunch of stuff we got to deal with. Angel Zanzi, like I said, that water
Yeah.
situation. This is a second, and this is only the second reported state in the U.S. So imagine, I know Jersey has a water problem, and I know
Hmm.
Arizona has a water problem. So this is a red flag situation. Something we need to
But
start
the whole West Coast got a
taking action.
lot of problem because they've been
Absolutely.
drought for 20 years.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. California. Yeah. New Mexico. Yeah. All that, man. So, and then I know, Mexico, Tijuana, which is
Oh,
two,
I know what I
yeah.
want to ask Zanzi. What if the Saudi Arabia, they are using these desalination process or whatever.
Yeah.
They're using electricity. What are they using? What are the machines running off in order? You know,
Electricity from generators, most likely powered by oil, I would guess. Although
yeah,
from what I understand, Dubai and other places in the uh, Arab Emirates, they even though they make their money from oil, they kind of develop some pretty interesting self-sustaining energy producing devices using the sun, wind,
hmm,
the waves. So they've got a pretty diversified energy grid, but the money comes from oil. So it all comes from fossil fuel, nevertheless. It's like saying you've got a Tesla in Texas where the electricity you put in your car comes from coal being burned, right? Or
exactly.
so it's yeah.
All right, y'all. So we'll see you tomorrow, Angel. And Angel, you go, if you like, join us on Sunday too when Angel comes back on. So yeah.
Actually, I have my own live stream for 2:30 Sunday. So
2:30. Oh no, we don't go until 6 on or okay, got you. I got you.
yeah, so
Okay.
I don't know. We'll drop by
Okay,
after.
well, I'm gonna drop by yours too, man. I'm gonna
Yeah.
drop by. Yeah. All right. So, all right, y'all. Well,
Okay.
Zanzi, thank you. Angel, thank you. Thank you to the chat. Trevor, Zero, Twin, Deacon, Amon Delight.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Amon Delight. And we'll see y'all tomorrow at 2. We out. Peace.
Peace.
Peace out.